Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today we have a good friend of mine. His name is Mesh. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Ellis. Man, it's been a pleasure, man. Looking forward to hanging out with you.
Good seeing you. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Yeah. So what we would like to talk about today, it's regarding the climate, real estate climate, and investments. So you know a lot about that. So Mike is all yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks once again for the opportunity. And you know, a lot of the questions I get right now from a lot of my clients happen to be, you know what, the market seems so turbulent. What do we do? We still like real estate, but we're scared and we're nervous. We don't know what's going on with the bank. We don't know where to, we don't want to do anything. So is that something you can relate with? I'm sure you're getting that a lot.
Well, absolutely. Like even my clients and your clients and stuff like that. And we both believe that there are opportunities, obviously, within the pre-construction projects and developments and all of that stuff, right? And there's various reasons why. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you said that. So typically a lot of investors in real estate, you know, they look at what's the traditional model? Well, you buy a house, maybe you put some tenants in there, you rent it for a bit, you get the capital appreciation, and you get all the joys of dealing with tenants. We know how fun that can be, right? In all seriousness, sometimes it's a headache, but other times it can work out well.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people have not been looking at that so much because interest rates are so high right now.
Yes.
Right? Interest rates are high and it makes it hard to break even in just the cash flow. So there's another option you mentioned earlier, which I tend to specialize in and I'm focusing a lot more in right now, and it's pre-construction. And if I may, like the reason I think it's so good right now, it's because, well, you know, nobody knows what tomorrow's gonna hold. But those of us that have been in the business, we kind of see that, you know, what goes up comes down. Absolutely. And once it's down, it's gonna go back up at some point.
Yes.
So we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what the next 6 months, a year is gonna be. But if I'm betting based on previous trends, I think that within 18 months to 2 years, which puts us, you know, close to the middle or end of next year, things should start moving again.
Are units actually selling?
Yes. So
would you say smaller units, bigger units, the end users, the investors? What would you say?
You're asking so many good questions.
I know.
We're getting right into it.
I know. Well, because that's what people want to know. Right?
Absolutely. So I would say right now, the projects that I'm involved with, I have a formula that I myself personally buy. I'm a big investor myself, and I tell my clients to follow the same formula. So the first step is I look for units that are predominantly end user, meaning that, you know, more than 70% of the building, people are actually going to buy and live there. Okay? Reason for that is they tend to keep the property values up higher. You know, they're not as price sensitive because, as you can imagine, when you buy your car, buy a house, you want what you want.
Exactly.
Right? These buyers are the same. So when we're looking for non-price sensitive, it isn't just about price per square foot. It's really the golden rule, right? It's location, it is view, it is amenities, it is build quality. So when you're finding these projects, you're going to attract those type of buyers as well.
Right.
Okay. So what does that mean for you as an investor? Well, if you can be, one of the 30%, there's a good chance not only are you going to make money on that transaction, but if you decide to keep it, you're going to have no problems renting it.
I would agree. Yeah.
So that's why I say that's one of the first pegs I look at is like how much of the building is owner occupied.
Right. So having said that, so obviously you mentioned location is the one of the factors.
Absolutely.
Okay? So then the percentage in between the flippers, investors, rentals, versus the end user, makes a big role, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in a different market, I mean, you've heard pre-construction it's not new. It's been around for quite some time. And I think in the last 5 years to decade, it's really gained a lot of strength. You've probably heard stories of friends, family. Maybe you've even been one of those people who have bought and flipped and assigned and gone through all that stuff. I think like every good thing, it comes to an end. So I also feel like that time of those ridiculous returns is gone for a little bit of time.
Flatten out, I would say. It'll be kind of on the quieter side, right?
But so that's why I say it's imperative to look for projects that you like and that other people will like, because when it comes time to purchasing that unit, they're willing to pay a little bit more because it's something that they want.
Another question regarding that, since we're like it seems like we're touching on PreCon a lot here. The builder name, does it really play a role in buying a pre-construction? Like, we have these big names, or we have these startup builders. Does it really make a difference?
So I'll put it to you this way. Okay, I'm going to let you answer this question, right? Because I know you're into nice things. I know you have nice cars. So let me ask you a question. If you had the opportunity to buy a Porsche straight from the factory, okay, so that's the one car, and you had the opportunity of buying, let's say, an entry-level Kia. Now, there's nothing wrong with either cars, okay? But if you had the ability to purchase both, okay, which one would you lean toward?
Well, I Porsche.
Okay. And not just because of the sportiness and all that stuff, because of the brand and the name of the builder, right?
You kind of trust it, right? Like, on the long run, like you are trusting that they did their due diligence.
Absolutely, and not to take, I'm not name dropping, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these other names, but with time, some of these other, characters may be just as good. But I think if we're looking at history, when you're investing your money and I'm making advice, I want to know that, there's a history of completion. If we check up their track record on Tarion, they haven't defaulted. And not that doesn't happen, but the last thing you want to do is in a situation where a builder doesn't complete a project. And it's happened the last couple of years, a lot of issues have happened with the supply chain. Maybe some of it wasn't their fault, but when we're investing, we don't want to know about that.
I know.
Right? Like, let's be honest. Great, you're a great guy, not our problem, right? And so I think now more than ever, the credibility of who you're working with, that comes down to even realtors, right? Like, I think that means a lot. It means a lot. So yes, I would definitely say the builder you work with, at least the person that's bringing the opportunity to your table, you should have a good understanding of who the builder is and what they're about.
And I'm finding so now we have the builder name, the history and the belief that they will provide whatever they're saying, and then the location and et cetera, right? So having said that, I also feel that from the presentation point all the way through the build and the finishes seem to be greater or better with some of these proven builders, I would say.
Yeah, they get it, right? Like if you look at, not to use the car analogy because some people may not be into cars, I just know we both are. It's like when you pick a certain manufacturer, let's just say, even the baseline that they offer and give you is fantastic.
Yes.
And not to use the Porsche example, but let's say even if we use Volkswagen, it's in the same family. Sure. A Volkswagen with some nice bells and whistles is plenty of fine car. Like, you know what I mean? And now obviously you can add extras and move up and do whatever, but versus other builders whose base isn't good. Like you're paying similar dollars and you're not getting nearly as much for your same dollars. So I believe in making your dollars work, but also paying for reputation. So it's kind of a twofold, right? It's paying for reputation. And look, these builders, at least the ones I deal with, they want to make money. They want to get a deal done. They want you to come in and work with them. So they've been doing this long enough to have fine-tuned the formula to know what you as an investor wants and to know what end users want. So it makes it so much easier. It's like going into like a custom garment store, like a suit store. Sure. It may not be 100% bespoke, but once you fit with a brand, you know that 9 out of 10 times you pick up that jacket or that shirt, it's gonna fit.
It'll fit.
And then it's custom. Does that make sense, that analogy?
100%. So let me ask you another question. Yeah. Since you've been around the block and the new build,
I'm beat up a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you're still doing a great job. Yeah. And I know that. So, square footage.
Yeah.
Let's say we'll take 700 square feet.
Yeah.
can a floor plan make such a huge difference with the same size?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, the death is in the details. And so you can find some designers, some builders who really hold on to that and, carve out each square foot to maximize it. It's like that saying that, you can find a 600 square foot house that maybe is missing some things on paper that you think is not good, but it's utilizing more space. Right? Versus a 700 square foot place that maybe has, it's got 2 bedrooms, but the second bedroom's really a closet, right? So 100%. Exactly. I think it depends on how the layout is.
We have seen it, right?
We have.
We have, and I'm finding with these reputable projects, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is in Oakville, and you have been working on it, and you have been successful and all of that stuff. I find that they know how to make the space work properly.
Yeah.
Like a perfect hallway, open concept, the kitchen is perfect size for the unit, and the bedrooms and closets and stuff like that. So I think that also plays a big role, right?
You've nailed it right on the head. I mean, when these developers take their time because they really want to understand what their clients want,
sure,
it takes longer. Listen, anyone can bang one of these up. After all, people say, what about Toronto? What about Mississauga? I mean, let's use Mississauga. There's so many condos in Mississauga.
Absolutely.
And you know what? We say it's kind of like everybody's off to the races, meaning who's going to be the first in the ground? Who's going to get access to your money? Who's going to be able to, whatever.
Shares.
But in doing that, sometimes what happens is it's not so much about, what's the best product? It's like, how quickly can we get out there and make our money, right? And so I still think that in this day and age, there are still developers, builders, names, not to name drop, like a
sure,
Tridel or whatever, that's been around for, decades.
A while, yeah.
That, they wouldn't be around this long if they didn't take these things into consideration, right? Let's be honest.
Right, 100%,
right? Let's be honest, 100%. Right? So, and you mentioned the project. Is it okay if I say the name of the project?
Oh, please.
Yeah. So I'm involved in a project called Bronte Lakeside at Bronte and Lakeshore in Oakville, okay? And now, Oakville, for those of you who are looking outside of the GTA, consistently in the past, it's been ranked one of the top 5 cities or top 10 cities in Canada.
Sure.
Definitely in Ontario
100%.
to live in. Great schools, good socioeconomic mix. But moreover, south where the lake is, there isn't a lot of high density living yet. So what we're noticing, even in Mississauga, even in these other areas, it's like there's people that have been there for a long time that have these big homes that don't want to leave, but they're going to sell their big homes. So now they want, I don't want to call it extravagant, but they want, a premium lifestyle.
And stay within.
And they're still there. They get
right?
to keep their postal code, right? They
sure,
stay within the community. I mean, same thing was happening here in Mississauga, a little bit in Port Credit.
Sure.
Difference is that's a much bigger scale. So that's going to be a massive community to itself, there's pros and cons to both of them.
100%.
But the one in Oakville that I really like is, the builders really listen to a lot of end users. Okay?
The heartbeat of that community.
Yes.
That, yeah.
And surprisingly, we're talking 600-700. That's what originally they drew out because that's the norm, right? Between 600 to 800. Well, guess what? Because so many end users came, they had to reconfigure a lot of units because people wanted 1,200, 1,400, 1,600 square feet. And once again, price isn't an issue. It is and it isn't, right?
Well, yes, but and we know that area. You said Bronte and Lakeshore.
Bronte and Lakeshore, yeah.
Right. So we know there's a lot of monster homes, and the community has been there for a while, and it's rejuvenated, and it's by the lake, and promenade, and restaurants, you name it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they can actually accommodate buyers, investors, whoever into.
I've got 2 right now. So I've got 2 right now, and it's amazing to go through that process.
Yeah.
Because a lot of builders wouldn't, unless you're kind of like buying a higher scaled unit. But even on a smaller level, this builder is willing to say, look, you know what? You want to customize your unit, we'll allow you to do that. There's obviously a fee involved because architect's time and designer's time. But it's like getting a home inspection. You would never potentially buy a house without at least knowing what you're getting yourself into. Mm-hmm. If this allows you to, maybe you want to tweak something because you're an avid photographer and you want a studio that has specific light. Like there are all kinds of things that can be done that people don't know about. right? And then once you do that, it's something pretty special.
Yeah, so that definitely experience is needed on that, and it's great to have a realtor
I believe
and
so,
guidance and all of that stuff going through the process and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. In today's day and age,
Yeah.
invest within the city or outside the city?
I mean, I don't want to say that's $1 million question because with inflation,
It's a $2 million
it's a $2 million
question.
question. Yes, so I think the first step, like with everything in real estate, and I say in life, first you have to look at what you qualify for, what your access to, right? So the current climate we're in right now, interest rates have gotten higher, so the average investor, it's gotten harder for them to buy things, right?
For sure.
So the tendency is to start looking outside of the GTA. Okay, so there's no wrong answer. But what ends up happening, in my opinion, is if you're able to find a way to invest in something locally, I still think in Canada, look, the Toronto market isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, it's continuing to expand at a staggering rate. And all that's happening, in my opinion, and a lot of other people, is that, you know how GTA, first Toronto was like 4 or 5 different boroughs, and then there was different regions. And as time has progressed, we keep engulfing everything around us. So now is it the Greater Toronto Hamilton area,
I know,
the
we're
Greater
swallowing
Toronto
everything.
Horseshoe
Yeah,
area,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And like even with Metrolix and what they're doing, so there are other markets that may have been in Mississauga circa 30 years ago that now are having their Mississauga moment, if that makes sense.
100%.
Right? So I think I'm answering your question in a little bit of a roundabout way. So the one hand is I would look for investments. My philosophy is within a 45-minute to an hour radius. I'll include Niagara in that. Maybe an hour 20, because I just follow where people are moving to. And the same reason places like, Markham, Richmond Hill, Brampton, Milton, all these areas at one point, they're known as sleeper towns, right? Like, could you imagine the size of those cities today? Right? And people who, you know what I'm saying? So
lots of great projects.
there's a lot of great projects
within an hour. So you would say, let's say within an hour.
And I know recently there's been a lot of excitement and a lot of people are selling stuff, even as far as Calgary or Halifax. And there's nothing wrong with those. I mean, they're great. Once again, I just say you have to look at what your investment thesis or strategy is, right? In a situation like Calgary, I think it's great. I just am not expertise enough to give the best advice. I know that over the boom, a lot of those cities were funded by Vancouver and Toronto, right? So essentially, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at an area like,
and we did projects in Calgary like 2020, 2021,
100
people have bought and invested and stuff like that, and we both have that experience that
exactly.
people were investing, like you said, from Toronto and Vancouver, monster cities or economies into smaller
exactly. So
town cities.
I know Canada's growing at a great rate. There's a lot of cities that are amazing to invest in. I'm just telling you, imparting what I look for and what I encourage my clients to do. Now, if there was a project on the East Coast, where I find that's a little bit more interesting for me personally, is it's a lot less competition. And the demand for housing out there is bigger.
It's ridiculous.
The unfortunate part is there's just not enough people servicing it. So I mean, that's something for maybe another day, right?
Another day, another topic.
Day. But that's what I'm saying. Would you think it's like local or not? I think it just depends on what the strategies, and I'd be happy to have a conversation.
I know it's a hard question.
Yeah. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
But there may be maybe more of a right answer, if that makes sense.
100%. So let me ask you a couple of fun questions.
Yeah, sure.
Mercedes or BMW?
Oh man.
Quick.
Okay. It's gonna kill me to say this,
okay,
but I'm gonna say Mercedes now.
Mercedes?
It used to be BMW.
Okay. Omega or Breitling?
I'll have to say Omega.
Yeah?
Just because of Bond.
Got it. Oh, just
because of Bond. I don't know what that even means.
Hey, James.
Actually, the Breitling is nicer.
Yeah.
But anyways,
okay. Yeah. So Rolls Royce or Bentley?
Man, now you're calling me out. Okay, I'm gonna give you the answer, but I'll give you why.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Fine.
I'm gonna say Bentley, just because Bentley is a driver's car and Rolls you're to be driven in. And I still think I have time before I can be driven in.
Okay.
Right? Although don't get me wrong, I like the Rolls, but I always find it funny when someone has a $500,000 car and they're driving it. I'm like, no. You should be sitting in the back. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Someone should be driving
Another hard one.
Yeah.
800 square foot 2-bedroom
Yeah.
or 800 square foot, 1 plus den? Price difference, 50K.
I think the price is negligible. If the price is negligible,
I love how he's answering these questions.
Yeah,
He's
the
like,
price is
answer
negligible.
without an answer.
price is
I
negligible.
got it.
I think it depends. Okay, I'm going to answer it this way. I'd have to see the layout.
Perfect.
I'd
I
have
like
to see
it.
the layout.
Listen, Mesh, thank you so much for
Hey,
coming. I
my
think
pleasure.
it was a fantastic video and lots to hear, to see.
Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, please reach out. We're always available. And like I said, thank you so much for coming and good seeing you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right.